Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meowmix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven,
My name is Jerry.
and we're here to talk about yet another Carolina Panthers loss. What was that?
I don't know. What was that?
Oh, my God.
What'd you do?
Hold on.
What did you do,
Hold
sir?
on. Hold on. All right, there we go.
We're live.
Yeah.
We got
all right.
one viewer.
Sorry about that. I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay, so did you hear anything from there?
No,
All
I
right,
heard
on the
nothing.
podcast, I think they probably heard something weird, so we'll fix that. Anyway, here to talk about yet another Carolina Panthers loss. This one to the division rival Atlanta Falcons, 38-20, in a game that, at times felt close, and at times it just didn't feel like we were any real threat to win this game.
I felt like we had a chance. We were down by a touchdown, but it was just every time we got some momentum, they would just come right back. Like we went up 7-0. Bam! Next drive, they just walked down the field and score on us. It was
real
sad.
sloppy. It was a real sloppy game for the Panthers, especially early on with, a bunch of penalties on that first drive and some drop passes here and there. And, of course, defensively, I mean, this is just a bad defensive team.
Very bad.
I mean, we know that. We've talked about that. Another game with no sacks. Not that we expected them to get any sacks, especially with Clowney being out and just, who else? Who's going to replace him? Like, nobody. There's no good pass rusher on this team right now.
And even when Clowney's here, it's not dramatic.
Clowney, I wouldn't even expect. I mean, he's not even a good pass rusher. Like, he's extremely inconsistent, and he's the best we've got.
Yeah,
and we didn't have that today.
It's so sad. I was watching the game, and Sylvia was like, we just can't get to him. I mean, you give Kirk Cousins that time, he's gonna find an open receiver. He's that. Yeah. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback where he's gonna burn you giving him time.
Yeah, he's certainly good enough to put up 38 points on this Panthers defense. Like, certainly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, at some point, I think we have, like we've done in seasons past, pivot to, instead of watching these games to see if the Panthers can win, watching these games to see if the Panthers can improve or if some of the young guys look good, things like that. Like, which, we've seen the Twitter comments asking, like, is it time to put Bryce back in? Or some people saying, oh, Andy Dalton's not winning us games. It's time to put Bryce back in. Okay, listen, I just want to say this, just so we don't have to address it over and over again. I don't think it's time to put Bryce back in. They sat Bryce for a specific reason. They sat Bryce because he was not ready to play. 1 month has not changed that. He is not ready to play.
I 100% agree with you. I don't want to be too mean, but Bryce starting, I don't think we see momentum for Chuba running as well. I think Deontay Johnson's starting to come in. Xavier Legette is starting to get it. Like, even on the Brad, like, those guys are starting to get it and start producing a little bit. And I'm seeing Andy Dalton, like, yes, he threw that bad interception. Mm-hmm. The last one, I'm just writing off. Garbage time. You're dropping.
They were pushing it.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's just fine. That first one, yes, Andy Dalton shouldn't have thrown it. He should have checked it down. He blamed himself later on in the press conference. That's all you can ask for. I mean, he's being competent out there, guys. What more do we want?
I mean, it's the only way that you can evaluate Dave Canales' offense. It's the only way that you can evaluate Xavier Legette, Tavion Sanders, Jalen Coker, who a bunch of you guys love out there.
Coker's looking good.
I'm saying, like, it's the only way that these guys are going to have a chance to look good because Bryce can't do it. He just can't do it yet, right? Maybe one day he gets there, but a month of sitting after 18 games of what we saw is not enough time. Trey, no. All right, Trey Bright in the chat. He's asking, so then do we need to trade Bryce? Well, personally, I'm fine with trading Bryce. I don't think they'll do it Because they can't get anything back for him at this point. What are you looking at? A fourth, a fifth, a sixth round pick? I mean, fourth at best at this point. No, for a fourth round pick, no, you don't trade Bryce.
I agree. I think he also starts after the bye. That gives him up until November 24th. So that's week 12. He gets 5 games to play. I think that's where he makes or breaks his future with this team.
I don't even think that's enough time. I think it's being unfair to him to do that. Honestly, I think he should sit the whole season. Now, the problem is if he sits the whole season and you end up with, as C3 Anthony says, a top 3 pick, then you have to make a decision, right? Then it's like, well, we've sat Bryce the whole season. We don't know what we have from him. Do we draft a quarterback with this top 3 pick that we have? And probably yes, right? That's probably the answer. And at that point, Bryce's career is probably done with the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean,
so this is tough. I mean, it's a very tough thing to manage.
And then you got to think too, who is the quarterback that you're going to draft? I don't like Shedeur Sanders. I think he has physical abilities, but I think he's going to be a headache to bring into the locker room. I think
From a personality standpoint.
Yeah. And he's only been coached by his dad, so there's always going to be that being told, hey, I've always been the best. Don't, I'm not that. I lean more towards Quinn Ewers from Texas, me personally. If you're going quarterback in the first round, top 5 pick.
Yeah. It seems like that this particular draft is not a very good, quarterback draft. Like if you need a franchise guy, all of the guys have questions.
I mean, that's most drafts, so let's be honest.
Well, there have been drafts where there have been guys that you knew were going to be good, right? This draft doesn't seem like that, but there could be players in there. I don't know. If I've got a high draft pick like that, there are other guys I think, and the good thing is, or the bad thing, is that there are a lot of places on this team that need improvement, right? There are a lot of positions that you could draft 1, 2, or 3 and would just be a good pick, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be quarterback.
Yeah. C3 Anthony says, I want to take Travis Hunter personally. Travis Hunter I'd take.
That would be great.
Cornerback, wide receiver. DVD 0410 said that Sanders and Coker had a pretty good games. And yeah, and that's why you need to keep Andy Dalton in here for longer, because he is able to get them the ball. He's able to get the ball out quickly enough. So,
yeah. I mean, it's they've made the decision to try and develop the team as a whole instead of just Bryce, right? If you got Bryce in there, the focus is on Bryce. The focus is on developing Bryce. The focus is Bryce our franchise quarterback? Without Bryce in there, you can look at these other guys and you can get a realistic look at them. And Andy Dalton, nobody's saying Andy Dalton is a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback in the league. No, he's average at best. He's shown that he's average at best. He can go out there and do enough so you can win games. He can also lose you games. That's been Andy Dalton his whole career.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't just change because he came to Carolina. He's not suddenly good, great, but he is good enough to where you can see what these other guys are.
He's a good, serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not going to take you to the promised land now in his career. You put a good team around him, I think he can take you to the playoffs. And if you have a really good team around him, maybe to the Super Bowl. But that's not this team.
No.
This defense couldn't stop me from running 5 yards a carry. So
this defense is bad.
Very bad.
Yeah.
So
and we knew that coming in. They gimped the defense to help the offense in the offseason. We've been talking about that this whole time. And I think the defense, like today, I mean, they gave up 38 points, but is it weird to say that I don't think they played terribly?
Oh, I think they played pretty terribly.
Yeah,
I did.
I mean, they kind of gave it up, in the second half.
That fourth quarter was rough, man. They could not stop Atlanta at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. I mean, it was a bad game. No lie, it was a bad game from the defense. But it just I felt like for a while there they were kind of keeping us in it. But again, with no pass rush, eventually the offense is just going to be able to overwhelm you.
yeah.
And that's what happened.
They ran for 200 yards on us, on the Panthers.
Yeah.
Like, let's not. They didn't need to pass. Why would you pass? That was kind of.
They still threw it 30 times.
Why would you pass? Just run the ball. I mean, that we're telling our team to run the ball too, just because.
I was going to say, I was wondering why we were passing it so much, especially early on. I mean, they could have run Chuba 30 times in this game, and he would have had 150 yards, no problem.
Yeah, I don't understand Canales' thought of, I get that we're going to be down, but keep running Chuba, man. 18 carries this game. 13 carries last week. Dude, he's averaging over 5 yards a carry right now. He's a beast.
He's really good. And this offensive line blocks well for the run.
Yeah.
They block well overall. But
even with Moton really and Austin Corbett out, they blocked well for the run.
Yeah, and no sacks in this game for Andy Dalton.
No.
I mean, they did a really good job. And which is kind of strange because, like you said, Corbett's out, Moton's out. That's those two of your top three for sure. I would put Hunt. Say Hunt's probably been.
Well, Hunt's number one. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Icky's been solid.
Icky's been okay, but he had some penalties today. But if you look at it on paper, talent-wise, the line today, not much better than what they played with last year, talent-wise.
No.
But I guess scheme-wise or whatever the difference is making a big difference because, again, they ran the ball just fine today, averaged almost 5 yards a carry as a team. And then Chuba over 5. Yeah, I mean, I would just continue to run the ball. Like, if you do put Bryce out there, just let him hand off, I guess. But Canales did already say that Andy Dalton's starting next week. So.
And he should, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was just going to say something, but I will say this about Canales. Something that I really was impressed by seeing. I'm seeing more wrinkles into the offense. Seeing Miles Sanders and Chuba in the backfield together, I really like that. That is something I wanted Christian McCaffrey and Deontay Foreman to do when they were here, but they never did it. I was like, you have two good running backs. Use them at the same time. They have decent hands.
Yeah, both of them. Both of them can catch the ball.
And with that type of formation, you could throw Xavier Legette back there with them sometimes. He could run the ball or catch the ball.
Yeah. And then they had that kind of double reverse play that they had. And I think that would have worked had Deontay Johnson made a better pitch to Dalton. Because Dalton kind of had to reach for it. And that threw the timing all off, I think.
And then he kind of he didn't have a good grip on it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But it's nice seeing the offense start to build on it. Now, on the other side of the ball, the defense are now missing coverages that they weren't. They're still missing tackles. Getting injured still.
I didn't think Horn had a very good game today.
No.
I mean, he almost had an interception to start the game off and missed it, but that was kind of his highlight of the day. He definitely, I think he gave up at least one touchdown. Yeah. So again, you're asking the secondary to essentially be your defense because there is no pass rush
and no run defense. So
yeah. There's you're really putting your secondary in a bad situation, and I guess that's kind of maybe what I was trying to say is just despite the deficiencies, I don't know, they were bad today. There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
Trying to find some positives, but
you weren't on this podcast last week about the question about Evero, and I said that I think he's fine. And you came back to me after you watched it saying, hey, I disagree with you. I'm kind of, if this defense continues to give up like this, I do think he's going to get in a hot water. Sorry, I have like a hiccup coming and I'm trying to keep it down.
Yeah, I mean, my thought with that mainly was somebody's got to get fired after this season. You're going to win 2-3 games tops. Somebody's got to get fired. The defense looks bad. They're not going to fire Canales. Canales isn't going to fire his offensive coordinator. They're best friends. There's only one guy left to fire.
And at this point, let's be honest. Do you feel like the offense is the problem right now? Because I think yes.
I feel like the lack of talent is the problem on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I do too. And that more falls on Dan Morgan's plate.
It does, but Dan Morgan, this is the first year Dan Morgan's been the GM. I don't think you can really grade a GM until, 2-3 drafts in, really, because you're still playing with mostly the players that came here. You're still dealing with the fallout from the CMC draft, from the Bryce Young draft, or the trades, right? The Bryce Young trade, the CMC trade. Dan Morgan had to come in, and he's still trying to dig his way out of that, right? You give up these great talents, and your previous GM did not refill the coffer with anything.
Yeah, and I guess my problem is Dan Morgan was sitting right in the chair right next to him.
I know. We disagree on how much influence Dan Morgan actually had in the draft room and during these trades and things. I know for a fact that he did not want to trade CMC. That's been said out there. And I don't think he wanted to draft Bryce Young, but I don't think anybody wanted to draft Bryce Young except for David Tepper and Nicole Tepper.
Well, supposedly Nicole Tepper wanted Stroud, but that's beyond the point.
Those who knows?
Yeah,
but either way, yeah.
DVD.
Either way, just real quick. I still believe that Dan Morgan can be a good GM.
I hope so, because we're hitched to his wagon right now, and
yeah,
I hope so. DVD did bring up it's miscommunication between our safety and corners for the big gains on every single game.
It does seem that way.
Yeah.
It does seem that way. And whose fault is that?
I don't know.
There could be several things, right? Because you're missing your QB of the defense, right? Shaq Thompson's out. And I think we've seen a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Trevin Wallace played pretty well today, but that's, his individual play is not all that position requires, right? He's got to get everybody in the right space. He's got to get the right play calls. He's got to adjust based on what the offense is doing. Like, that's a big loss.
I'm hoping when Josie Jewell comes back that maybe he can handle that communication. Yeah, he could be the captain of the defense, even though he won't get a captain. But I don't want Trevin Wallace to have to worry about that right now. Trevin Wallace is a very raw linebacker, and he has played decent in my opinion. But at the same time, I think that's hurting him more than helping him.
It's a lot to ask for a third-round rookie.
Who was raw. Point blank. He was a raw player coming out who has the physical gifts, but may not be able to diagnose every play like he's no Luke Kuechly.
No, well, few are. But yeah, long story short, like let's not try and I don't know. It's so hard to root for this team, man. Like, it really is.
This loss doesn't hurt me so much. Maybe because we are in it somewhat.
I think it's just because we're
numb,
resigned to failure at this point. And we lost by 18 points. We got our butts whooped. And again, it was a game up until, middle of the third quarter, early fourth quarter, whenever that interception happened that kind of turned everything around. But I kind of felt like it was smoke and mirrors. I just didn't feel like we were really going to threaten to win this game. At most, I was worried that my bet of the Falcons covering the 6-point spread was in danger. Like that was as far as I ever got to believe the Panthers were actually going to be able to kind of stay in it.
Yeah. Speaking of gambling for the children hit. And that was a nice little $60 that they won.
There you go.
For the kids.
There you go.
And that parlay.
Congratulations, children. So yeah, good to see that hit. I did see somebody on Twitter said they took our advice and they had a little parlay of their own for I think the Falcons covering, and then Bijan and Chuba both hitting their total yardage. And it hit for him, and it was like $150 or something.
I know.
Good job there. This is not a gambling podcast, but we do discuss a little bit, for fun. And that
For
was
the children.
That's what we thought. That's right. And my bets hit today as well. So good day for that. If you're betting against the Panthers, it was a good day.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what you should do.
Yeah,
By the way, this is my strategy from now on. I'm going to bet against the Panthers, just like $25-$30, right? And that way, if they lose, I win. And if they win, I can just say, well, I paid $20 for them to win. I think that's a great strategy. It's going to make me feel better about it. All right.
Let's look at some stats real quick. Kirk Cousins, 19 of 30, 225 yards, 1 touchdown. He just had all day back there.
Yeah.
Surprising.
He wasn't sharp either. I didn't think he was. He looked a lot better in that game last week than he did today.
Yeah. I mean, he is an older quarterback. Sometimes he's going to have up and downs, but this was the game that you could be down on.
Right. I feel like this is that game where they were probably overlooking us, right?
Yeah. Rushing, Tyler Algier led the way, 18 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, 15, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, they just could walk all day on us. I mean, that was just...
It didn't matter who was running the ball. Interesting that Algier got more carries than Bijan, but I think, again, this game, Algier was kind of the guy in the fourth quarter, and he was moving the pile. There was no reason to bring Bijan in.
Yeah, why would you hurt him? He's a stud.
Yeah.
Receiving for Atlanta, Drake London, 6 for 74 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts, 3 for 70 yards. Darnell Mooney, 3 for 38. Ray McLeod, 3 for 30. It's kind of shocked that a punt returner for us a few years ago is now actually getting solid reps with Atlanta. Yeah. Bijan Robinson, 3 for 10. So.
Yeah. Kyle Pitts. Okay. I see you, Kyle Pitts, coming along a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had that big 52-yarder. And
yeah, that was more of a blown coverage than anything. But hey, he was out. He was out there, and he caught it.
So. Another blown coverage.
Yep.
Defense. Nate Landman led Atlanta with tackles for 8. Again, no sacks. Grady Jarrett had 2 tackles for losses. Mike Hughes, 7 total tackles. D. Alford, 6. I mean, overall, it was just
Yeah,
all around.
They had the couple interceptions.
Yeah.
Phillips and Terrell both got Andy once. But, again, they put up 38 points, and they beat us by 18. But, again, it didn't feel like they were super sharp today. But
they weren't.
They didn't have to be. Just a shout out to Younghoe Koo, 3 for 3. I like to call out the kicking. So nice job there. A lot of Falcons fans in the stands because every time he lined up for an extra point, you heard Koo. So there was that. Let's move to the Panthers. So Andy Dalton, 26 of 38, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, he didn't get sacked, so there is that. Chuba, 18 carries, 92 yards, 5.1 per tote. Should have gotten 30 carries.
I agree.
Yeah. Miles Sanders, 3 carries for 1 yard. Andy Dalton had 3 carries for 21. He had that 18-yard run that kind of caught everybody by surprise. But
hey, Andy Dalton has some.
He's got a little bit of wheels on him.
Yeah, I mean, especially for his age and stuff like that.
His age. Yeah, and his hair color.
Hey, it's the color of flames. When he's running, you could tell. He should grow his hair out so it looks like little flames when he runs.
Well, yeah. All right. Receiving wise, Deontay Johnson once again leads the team. 6 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Jatavion, 5 for 49. Good job by Jatavion out there today. I thought he did a really nice job.
I did too. He's coming along. That's what you can hope for with him. He's starting to look the pace. Hopefully, we don't see Ian Thomas out there dropping balls and stuff like that.
I'm getting to Ian Thomas. Don't you worry about that. But Jatavion, 4th-round pick. Let's not forget, 4th-round pick. This is not a guy that was expected to come in and be your TE1 day one.
No.
And I think he's done a really good job. I think he leads all tight ends in receptions and catches at this point. So
for us, yes.
Yeah.
I
And
think
not all tight ends, but yeah.
I think JT Sanders is our tight end of the future going forward. He's showing glimpses of what I want to see from a tight end.
I'm excited about it. Coker, 3 for 30. Not 8 for 120 like somebody suggested on our last podcast, but not bad.
I mean, honestly, undrafted rookie free agent, 3 for 30. He's carving himself out a nice little niche. He's supplanted Mingo, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, Mingo got 1 target in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I thought Coker should probably have had more targets. He only had 3. Leggett, 3 for 23, did have the nice touchdown grab. So good job there by Leggett. David Moore, 2 for 17. I think both of those came pretty early in the game as well. Sanders and Chuba both had some Sanders 1 catch, Chuba 5 catches for 11 yards. Not a great average there.
Yeah,
I 1 for 1.
Yeah, I wasn't too big of a fan of the way they were using him in the passing game. It was very odd. Like they were doing weird screens that took forever. It was.
Yeah, we've seen them use him better in the passing game in previous games, so I'm not sure what the game plan was there. Ian Thomas, 3 targets. 1 of them was a drop. 1 of them was an interception. I don't even know what the other one was. Probably a throwaway. Bad things happen when you try to get Ian Thomas the ball. Just, come on, guys. We don't need this guy on the team anymore. He sucks. In a team of players that suck, he is the suckiest. He is bad. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't provide anything. I don't want to hear about the stupid blocking. Okay? He's not that good of a blocker. We spent $100 million on our offensive line. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
I bring back Jordan Matthews.
God, anybody. I can't stand watching him. Troy Hill led the team in tackles with 9. Panthers
Sorry. Usually I'm the one who rants. That's why I was just enjoying that.
God. Actually, Troy Hill, Xavier Woods, and Trevin Wallace all had 9 tackles each. No sacks for the Panthers. No tackles for loss for the Panthers. 6 pass deflections. That's pretty good, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Pinero, 2 for 2. Hecker, 3 punts. I don't know. I mean, just kind of a rough game overall. I do want to look real quick at, time of possession was pretty even. 30 minutes, 40 seconds for the Falcons, 29-20 for the Panthers. So that's pretty good. Did have 10 penalties.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to bring up. 10 penalties, 74 yards.
Yeah.
You're not a good team, and you get 10 penalties. I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Same with the turnovers. 2 turnovers to 1.
Yeah. Team is definitely not good enough to commit 10 penalties and expect to win. 5 for 11 on third downs. That's not terrible. Falcons were 6 for 12, so kind of even there. Yeah, I mean, fairly even overall, except just the Panthers turnovers, 2 turnovers for the Panthers. Was that? I know that 2-1, 2-1 for the turnover ratio. Yeah.
And this is the worst defense in the league. I mean, point blank, they're giving up 30-something points a game.
Yep.
You just can't win when your defense rolls over like that.
It is frustrating. It is frustrating. Because a game like this, like the way the Falcons were playing,
this was a winnable game.
You felt like it could have been, like it should have been a more competitive game. And in some ways it was, but in most ways it wasn't. Just because the Panthers they can't get to the quarterback, and that's so important, especially against a team like the Falcons who like to pass. Well, we talked about it. They average less than 100 yards rushing a game. They had almost 200 in this game, and they didn't want to. You can tell they wanted to pass. They didn't want to run, even as successful as it was. All right, what's next?
Do we want to do a hero and zero? I think we know you're 0, but I'll let you go ahead and take it off.
Yeah, I mean Ian Thomas is gonna be anytime he's out there, he's gonna be my 0. Just provides nothing. Provides nothing. He's a negative out there.
I agree.
Yeah, it should be heroes and negatives. He's a negative. Other than that, I mean, I'm just gonna go with Ian Thomas.
I'm gonna go with the pass rush again. You can't bring down a quarterback. You can't. Kirk Cousins had all day in our secondary. I mean, I feel like our secondary has hung in there decently. It's just you can't give him 3 hours back there. He's gonna find someone open.
Do you think Evero could get fired? Again, I don't believe Evero should be fired. I don't think you believe Evero should be fired.
No.
I believe Evero will be fired, just because that's the way it works in the NFL.
I will say if we continue to be the worst scoring defense in the league, giving up 30 to 40 points per game, I mean, no matter what I think there's a reasonable expectation that he could be fired. I mean, that's just...
There you go. I think that's what it is. But they haven't given him anything to work with.
No.
In terms of players. He's lost his best player due to injury. Clowney didn't play today due to injury. Not that he's great, but he's certainly a better pass rusher than what they had out there. So I don't think he should be fired. I think he will be. Do you think he could be fired during the season?
No. I think that would be a very bad thing for Tepper to do. Speaking of bad things Tepper needs to do is get the turf off that field and get grass back.
And this is why I think he probably will be fired during the season, because Tepper makes bad decisions. Tepper makes knee-jerk decisions. He doesn't allow things to progress. He doesn't allow the time it should take things to happen. He doesn't allow them that time, as we've seen for his entire tenure here. The field is just, the players have complained about it. The fans complain about it. Across the league, players hate playing on that kind of field. He did it because it saves money, because he's got $20 billion and needs to save a few $1,000s a year, apparently. It is the one thing that you can point to say that he does not care about winning over money.
Yeah, 100%.
He cares about money over everything.
I mean, he's the bringer of music. That's what he cares about.
That's all he cares about, is how much can he line his pockets. That is number one goal, is make money. Number 2 goal, maybe winning. Maybe that's even further down the list. But it does not beat money.
I just wish there was some way us fans could really... I mean, we lost A'Shaun Robinson. We've lost Derek Brown. We've lost Christian McCaffrey multiple years because of that turf. Now, we can't guarantee it's all because of the turf, but a lot of these seem to be turf-related.
Well, I mean, McCaffrey went to San Francisco and all of a sudden was
healthy
perfectly
again.
Fine for, a couple of years until this year. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, we've heard from players. Players hate playing on it. Shaq Thompson again got hurt this year. Turf-related? Who knows? But it's a non-contact injury. I don't know where that might not even happened here, but either way, it puts a wear and tear on you. It's just not good. It's not good for the game. They need to get it out of all the stadiums.
I agree. Like, it's just, why
the
risk
open air stadiums?
Like, we're paying A'Shaun Robinson, Derek Brown, millions upon millions of dollars, but David Tepper saving $2 million by not doing the grass.
It's so stupid.
I mean,
they make more than that off the dang TV deal, many times more.
Oh, of course.
It gets paid for.
And this would be what? You're helping your players out? You're going to make your players happier? Oh, no.
Yeah. There's no downside. And to a guy like that, where the money means nothing other than a number that he can point to, because he's got everything he would ever want, that $2 million a year, whatever the number actually is, it means nothing to him. It does nothing for him. Yeah, it's so annoying. All right, heroes. Who's your hero?
David
Tepper.
I'm going to say Deontay Johnson. I really liked him. I feel like he's coming on nicely to the point of us saying, hey, we have a number one type of receiver if we want to keep him.
Yeah. I'm going to take the easy one and just say Chuba. You know, Chuba continues to move the offense. Chuba continues to be the best player on offense. He is reliable. He doesn't get hurt. He moves the chains. Anytime you get him the ball, you feel like good things are going to happen. He doesn't get caught behind. He goes north to south. He doesn't try to make, he doesn't lose yards trying to make things happen. He just busts his way through the line. I really like Chuba. I've been a bit of a, not a Chuba hater, certainly, but just not a Chuba believer maybe over the years. But he has 100% converted me to, I'm a Chuba believer. Like, I think he is a very, very good running back.
I think if we had Matt Rule's wife as GM instead of Scott Fitter, we may have had one or two better players then.
Maybe.
Scott Fitter gave us.
Let's not remember, or let's not forget who brought us Chuba.
All right.
100% Mrs. Rule.
Well, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at Meowmix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show. We want to thank everyone for joining the podcast. C3, Anthony, Trey, DVD, Dumb Dumber. I think that's it. No, it's just Dumb and Dumber. My bad.
All right. We'll be back middle of the week to talk the next game. Panthers versus whoever. And until then, everybody have a safe weekend, week, whatever. Bye.